One such high-profile arrest took place in May 2008 when then-master's student Rizwan Sabir and faculty member Hicham Yaza were arrested on terrorism charges. Rizwan, a British citizen conducting research for his PhD proposal on counter-terrorism, downloaded the Al-Qaeda training manual and emailed it, as he had with other documents, to his friend and mentor Hicham. 4 months later, both men were arrested and detained for 6 days in a highly publicised operation. The case of Rizwan and Hicham has come to be seen as a prime example of state Islamophobia, and one which has had a profound impact on academic freedom in universities. I met Rizwan one Tuesday evening in Nottingham, and the next day caught up with Hicham for our interview.
Can you tell me a little about your arrest and how you were treated?
Essentially, I was doing my masters at the time, and I was in the process of collating primary documentation. During this process, I encountered something which is referred to as the Al-Qaeda training manual, and it was on the Department of Justice US government website. When I clicked to download it, I thought it was pretty useful and saved a copy onto my laptop. It was never for a subversive purpose that I downloaded it. It was never for no criminal intent ever involved. It's purely academic and academic only.
Now, this document is an open source document. In other words, it's available on the internet. It's declassified, so in other words, anyone can legally possess it. It's got extremely very little information in terms of anything operational or dangerous. But that's not the point. The point is I had it because Rizwan, who was a friend of mine, was planning to do a PhD on radical Islam, and had come to me a few months prior to ask me for help to draft his PhD proposal.
And essentially I sent him the document like I would send him numerous other documents, to have a look at it and to decide whether it would be of use for the proposal. I sent him this document in January of 2008. It sat on his computer till the arrest.
He used to have meetings and discuss his PhD proposal. Whenever he came across a new research material or resource, he would send me a copy. And this document was one of dozens and dozens of files he had sent.
One day I came onto the campus and I encountered some activity outside of his office. I went to inquire, was told no information.
On a particular morning I received a call from a friend of mine, Rizwan, who essentially was asking if I was okay, and I said, yes, I'm fine. How come you're asking? And he said, because there's lots of police officers outside your office.
I then proceeded to make my own inquiries, and in the process of making those I was then arrested under the Terrorism Act. Later to be told that the reason for my arrest was because being in possession or disseminating the Al-Qaeda training manual to Hicham Yaza.
As soon as I heard that there was police officers, my immediate instinct and reaction was it must have been a break-in. So I made my way and to see what was happening and to see if I could be of help. And immediately upon my arrival, I was arrested. I was told it was under the Terrorism Act, but I was not given any details about what was the actual offence.
I was detained for 6 days. On May the 14th, 08 till 20th of May 08. It was 6 days in solitary confinement. The entire wing was sealed, so nobody was allowed to or permitted to come in without authorization from a senior ranking officer. I had no encounter with anybody else other than the police officers, the custody members of staff, or my lawyer. So yeah, that's what it was like for 6 days.
Wow.
And no natural sunlight either.
I understand that after you were released from that, was it almost immediately that you were...
Yeah, I was released technically, but in practical terms, I was not really released. I was still in the station. What happened basically was the police obtained from the judge the permission to hold us for 6 days while they looked for information.
Okay.
They knew from day one the reason why I had the document. The evidence was overwhelming that we had nothing to do with terrorism, but they obviously wanted to find something because it was going to look very embarrassing for them that they had this entire operation, and it made them look like complete incompetence. So after this, when the 6th day came, they released Rizwan and they released me. In the sense, they gave me a piece of paper saying you've been arrested in possession of this document, and then the officers who gave me that piece of paper left the room. This is in the police station. And then 2 new officers came in with a new piece of paper saying we hereby arrest you under the immigration law for basically having your immigration status was not in order. And my reaction was, this is ridiculous. I then understood that essentially, I was to be the fall guy for the failure of the operation. Essentially, I was going to be a scapegoat. And within a day, I was moved to a detention centre. I was to be detained until the 1st of June, which was about 10 days later, where I was going to be put on the first available flight back to Algiers, which is where I come from. In my case, clearly that it had nothing to do with my visa status. I mean, it was purely a case of trying to get somebody out of the country at a very sensitive time because of the media impact of the operation. You have to remember that when this happened, there was a huge amount of noise being made outside, especially in the university community, against the police and against the university for rushing to arrest people who were clearly innocent, just out of their knee-jerk reaction that was tinted with racism and extremism and Islamophobia. I was given essentially the choice. I was told, if you leave now, we will let you go with no charges. You won't have any criminal record. You will have no stamps on your passport to prevent you from coming back if you wanted to apply for a new visa. If you stay and decide to fight, then we'll basically take you to the cleaners. You could face up to 14 years in jail. Your life will be destroyed. And I said, I'm staying.